If you've ever thought, I'm not that smart, this video is for you. Why do the brightest people often think they're just normal? Why do the more you understand, the more you doubt yourself? There's a silent phenomenon that explains this paradox, and hardly anyone talks about it. But there's something even more important. Real intelligence isn't seen. It's manifested in daily habits that go unnoticed. Stay until the end to discover them and understand why your mind works differently. Many of the smartest people never describe themselves as brilliant. On the contrary, they often think they're just normal. Why does this happen? The reason lies in what's known as the inverse Dunning-Kruger effect. While those who know little tend to overestimate themselves, those who truly grasp the complexity of the world do the opposite. They doubt themselves. The more you know, the more aware you are of everything you still don't know. That's why high intelligence is rarely accompanied by arrogance. These people don't feel the need to prove anything because their mind is constantly comparing, analyzing, and questioning. It only takes someone to exhibit 3 of the habits we'll see below for their brain to already function differently from the average. It's not obvious, it's not visible, and often it goes completely unnoticed, even by the person themselves. Most people treat conversations like a competition. Whoever speaks first, whoever speaks fastest, seems to have the advantage. But people with a high IQ function differently. They stop. They stay silent. They observe while others rush to fill every empty second with words. It's not shyness or mental slowness. It's filtering. Before speaking, their mind evaluates every idea, every word, every possible consequence. Studies show that the smartest people verbalize internally before expressing themselves. That's why, when they finally speak, what they say carries weight. They don't just talk to talk. They talk because they truly have something to contribute. For them, silence isn't awkward. It's useful. They prefer to say nothing rather than say something they might later regret. Words aren't just sound, they're decisions. And that almost imperceptible pause is one of the first signs of a mind that thinks more than it appears to. Intelligent people often make others uncomfortable, not because they seek conflict, but because they don't accept anything as it's presented to them. If someone claims the sky is blue, they're not satisfied with the easy answer. They ask why. And if the explanation is vague, they keep asking. Not out of distrust, but out of genuine curiosity. This habit isn't about being contrary, but about understanding. They debate to understand, not to win. Each question strengthens their critical thinking, like a muscle trained with constant use. That's why they detect flaws in systems that others accept without thinking. They see cracks where most only see normalcy. That same attitude explains why they struggle to follow rules that don't make sense. Blind obedience feels intellectually suffocating to them. For them, accepting something without understanding it isn't discipline. It's giving up on thinking. The brain of a person with a high IQ functions like a pattern recognition machine. Automatically, it connects data, behaviors, and situations that go completely unnoticed by others. It's as if they're playing connect the dots on an invisible map only they can see. Thanks to this ability, they often anticipate outcomes before they happen. It's not intuition or magic. It's pure, constant observation. Their mind analyzes conversations, decisions, and small details, and from there, detects trends. That's why they sometimes say, "I knew this was going to happen," surprising those who saw nothing coming. However, this ability comes with a price. When you start seeing patterns everywhere, you can no longer stop. Even when they try to rest, their mind continues to look for connections. For them, disconnecting isn't always easy, because once the brain learns to see the hidden order, it doesn't know how to ignore it. People with a high IQ have a special sensitivity to inefficiency. Where others see a messy but acceptable process, they see a problem that needs a solution, not because someone asked them to, but because their mind interprets that situation as a puzzle. Almost automatically, they start thinking about how to improve, simplify, or automate what's in front of them. They create systems, invent shortcuts, and optimize processes that most people hadn't even noticed were broken. For them, solving problems isn't an obligation. It's a form of mental play. The downside is that they often get frustrated. What's an obvious solution to them is invisible to others. This difference in perception can lead to misunderstanding, but it also explains why they tend to be a step ahead when it comes to improving anything they touch. People with a high IQ don't read with the goal of finishing books. They read to absorb ways of thinking. That's why their reading habits seem chaotic to others. One day philosophy, the next neuroscience, then programming or ancient history. It's not a lack of focus, it's cross-training for the mind. They don't aim to become experts in everything. What they do is collect mental frameworks. Each discipline offers them a different way to analyze reality, and their brain enjoys combining these perspectives. For them, variety is more valuable than quantity. While others read to accumulate information, they read to understand how other minds think. This habit allows them to connect ideas from totally different fields and create original solutions. Reading isn't a passive hobby. It's an active tool to expand the way they interpret the world. When most people overthink, they do so by circling the same point, the same worry, the same fear, repeated over and over. People with a high IQ think differently. They don't go in circles. They delve deeper, layer by layer. They analyze every possible scenario, detect flaws, simulate consequences, and mentally test each option before acting. It's like a chess game played several moves ahead. It's not anxiety, it's strategic depth. Their mind isn't trapped, it's building. That's why, when they finally make a decision, they often seem calm. They've already experienced the mistake in their head, anticipated the downfall, and thought about how to react. Nothing surprises them too much, because before taking a step, they've already mentally explored all possible paths. This silent preparation is one of their greatest advantages. Most people feel uncomfortable with silence. It forces them to be alone with their thoughts, which can be unsettling. However, for those with a high IQ, silence is a necessary space. They don't avoid it. They seek it out. In these moments of quiet, their mind organizes chaos. Ideas settle, connections become clear, and those intuitions that seem to come out of nowhere appear. It's not isolation or disinterest in others. It's internal processing. Silence is where their thoughts find clarity. That's why they value these moments without noise or distraction so much. In a world that demands constant attention, their ability to pause and think calmly becomes a powerful advantage. It's there, away from the noise, where many of their best ideas take shape. People with a high IQ don't fool themselves. When they make a mistake, they don't look for excuses or blame external factors. They take direct responsibility. This level of self-analysis isn't common, because confronting one's own failures is often uncomfortable. While many prefer to soften reality to protect their ego, they do the opposite. They know that you can't improve what you refuse to acknowledge. That honesty, sometimes harsh, is the basis of their constant growth. Every mistake becomes information, not a wound. This trait also explains why they often seem demanding, even intense, not just with others, but especially with themselves. Mediocrity is unbearable to them when they are fully aware of what they could achieve if they put in their maximum effort. While most people organize their day by hours, those with a high IQ do so according to their mental energy level. They know exactly when their mind is most awake and focused, and they adapt their tasks to that internal rhythm. They don't force productivity. They synchronize it. They reserve hours of maximum clarity for deep work, leave moments of lower energy for simple tasks, and allow creativity to flow when appropriate. They've understood something essential. Time may seem infinite, But mental energy is not. That's why they protect their moments of concentration as a valuable resource. By respecting their own cognitive rhythm, they achieve more, without getting exhausted. It's not about working more hours, but about making better use of their mind when it's truly ready to perform. Extremely intelligent people don't try to impress others with complicated words or their vast knowledge. On the contrary, they are experts at simplifying the complex. They take abstract or technical ideas and present them in a way that anyone, regardless of their education level, can understand. This isn't because they want to hide their intellect, but because they understand that true genius lies in being able to connect with others. It's not about showing how smart they are, but about making others feel smart. They don't need to boast, as they know that true intelligence is found in clarity and the ability to explain things accessibly. This habit allows them to establish genuine connections with anyone, regardless of their background. Their intelligence isn't displayed through grandiloquent words, but in their ability to communicate simply and effectively. At the end of the day, true intelligence isn't measured by how many diplomas you have or how many degrees you hold, but by your daily habits, the way you think, the way you manage your time and energy, and above all, how you deal with yourself and others, are the true indicators of your IQ. So the question isn't, am I smart enough? But how am I using the mind I already have? Do you recognize yourself in any of these habits? Were you surprised to discover that many of them are already part of your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, intelligence isn't just knowing more, but knowing how to apply it. At the end of the day, true intelligence isn't measured by how many diplomas you have or how many degrees you hold, but by your daily habits. The way you think, the way you manage your time and energy, and above all, how you deal with yourself and others, are the true indicators of your IQ. So the question isn't, am I smart enough? But how am I using the mind I already have? Do you recognize yourself in any of these habits? Were you surprised to discover that many of them are already part of your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, intelligence isn't just knowing more, but knowing how to apply it.